As you can see, my title of the presentation is Samsara and Awareness, Buddhist Psychology and Contemporary Mindfulness in the RHS program. So what is the RHS program? RHS stands for the Recovering the Human Spirit. It's a meditation program that was initially developed by this scholar monk from Dongguk University, and now is being taught and refined by a group of experts also from our university. So I feel very grateful to introduce this RHS program to the audience here today. And then in order for me to introduce this program, I'd like to talk about how and why this program was developed. And I will talk about the Buddhist psychology and therapeutic process of this program. And then I'll mention some of the practices being implemented for this program, and then I'll show you the basic outline, which is the 8-week meditation program course. And then I'll probably conclude with my future implications. Okay, first, let's take a quick look at the current issues of mindfulness meditation today. As we all know, for over the past half a century, mindfulness-based meditation has been increasingly becoming widespread in different kinds of settings, such as clinics, hospitals, schools, even corporations, right? And then at the same time, these mindfulness-based meditation of today have increased a lot of concerns and faces quite numerous criticisms. So widespread popularity of this mindfulness-based meditation has helped normalize contemplative practices, but at the same time, these programs have detached Buddhist meditation from its ethical, relational, and transformative foundations. So among the many prominent programs, as we all know, I'd like to mention several. There are MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, and MBCT, Mindfulness-Based Cognitive Therapy, right? And then MSC, Mindful Self-Compassion, and also ACT, Awareness and Commitment Therapy. Has anyone tried any of these programs before? No. Okay. All right. I mean, maybe in the near future, yes. Or you don't need this mindfulness-based modern meditation because you're doing this traditional meditation already, right? No meditation. Okay. David Goleman and what's his name? Of the authors of the Ultra Trait, Goleman and Davidson. They're the two frontiers in terms of Western meditation and also contemplative scientists. In their insightful book, published around 2017 or 18, titled Ultra Traits, they talk about that, to have like long-term, enduring transformations, we require more than techniques, right? So they honestly confess what they have been missing for the past half a century. And then they compare the brain of the long-term practitioners to the short-term participants of these 8-week course programs, right? And then I think it's very important to have these long-term and enduring transformations, right? Because why do we practice? Maybe simply to become a better person, or to have these transformations, or to have this trait, to have the self traits being altered or transformed for the long term. So I really like the book Ultra Traits. It's quite a good summary of the past half a century, and also new perspectives and what kind of things they want to work in the future. And they specifically mentioned that even though it's impossible to have a clear map of the Buddha's brain, right? But we have to try to get closer to the Buddha's brain, no matter what it is. Okay, but at the same time, there's a tremendous concerns about this modern-day mindfulness-based meditation. There is a need for addressing the issue of Buddhist-rooted meditation that aspires to resolve fundamental human existential issues amid the fourth industrial revolution technologies. So I think we are almost familiar with these new technologies and meditation together, such as meditation and AI, or conversational robots, or wearable devices for the meditation, right? And then tons of meditation applications. I think there was interesting findings from the research done from our university, Dongguk University. 1 out of 2 Dongguk college students, they opened ChatGPT in times of their difficulty instead of walking to our college counseling centers. Okay, so that was the quick background, and now I'd like to talk about why and how this RHS program was developed. It started with this simple question: why a human being does not seem so human? Anyone has a good answer for me? Okay, let's look inside first. We every day, moment by moment, ride an emotional roller coaster, right, of inner states, different emotional feelings, anger, jealousy, competition, anxiety, frustration, craving, and stress. So we need to cultivate the ability to recognize and regulate our own pattern of emotion, thought, and behavior. If we look outside, it's even worse, and it's even sad, right? There is a continuous, endless incidents of cruel violence and worse, including mass shooting, just happened 3-4 days ago in the States, right? Killing of their own family members, killing of their own children, right? It once in a while happen in Korea, like love scams or phone scams, etc. So what is required is a deep reflection on the very nature of our human existence. So our HS program was developed with threefold aims. First, it was developed to cope with and to overcome the stress in our daily life, and also the stress in terms of human relationships. And it was developed to cultivate insight into self and others' ways of being and acting. And it was developed to lay out the foundation for the journey toward deeper and greater awakening. Okay. Moreover, many forms of Western psychotherapy have delved deeply into the suffering of a particular emotion or specific psychological state within many, without exploring the whole, like in a comprehensive way. So as a result, while their methods have been helpful in treatment, but they often resolve one problem only for another to emerge. So Buddhism, however, does not limit itself to any single emotion or state. Instead, it recognizes these psychological problems as parts of an interconnected wheel of suffering that turns in samsara, thereby addressing human suffering in a more fundamental and comprehensive way. So, have all these issues taken into consideration, the RHS program came to a birth, and then the basic framework of the RHS program is borrowed from the concept of the wheel of life that we all know, that we are very familiar with, right? In this wheel of life, very concise illustration of all fundamental Buddhist teachings, it elaborates from the suffering, cause, cessation, and also ways to overcome the suffering. So in this condensed illustration, there are 4 noble truths narratives implemented in the setting. If you look at the center, there are 4 layers of the circles. At the very center of the wheel, there are 3 different animals. We like animals, right? Tony just presented about the bird. And there's animals rooster, snake, and pig, they are shown biting each other's tail. That symbolize the three poisons of greed, hatred, and ignorance, which are the root cause of our sufferings. And the next circle represent karma. Karma means consequences of wholesome and unwholesome actions, right? And the next circle, it depicts the 6 realms of existence, which I want to talk about today. And then the outermost circle depicts the 12 links of demon origination. So these 4 layers of the circles are grasped by the Yama, the Lord of the Death. So I think all of us are very familiar with this illustration, right? So how this teaching is related to RH's program. So the concept of the 6th realm is not only interpreted in physical dimension. So when we talk about this wheel of life, we always think about the samsara, the endless cycle of birth and rebirth in physical dimension, right? Next life, we will born again as a bird, maybe, titira. And next life, we born probably as something else, as born in the hell realm. But these 6 realms can be also interpreted in psychological dimension. In Buddhist cosmology, rebirth in different realms is determined by one's actions, which are directly influenced by one's psychological states. Okay, it's already 10 minutes. So if you see the below 3 circles, physical samsara takes place due to the actions of body, mouth, and intention, karmas, and our actions are directly influenced by our own psychological states. So this is the basic framework that we use for the RHS program. And this RHS program delves deeply into the psychological aspects of these different 6 realms, interpreting them again through a psychological paradigm. It suggests that the human mind, our mind, continuously cycles through these 6 realms of human, heaven, asura, animal, hungry ghost, and hell of existence momentarily in everyday life. And each of the 6 realms is associated with core emotions. And those core emotions can be linked to specific personality traits, relation dynamics, and also dominant behavior patterns. This is not my interpretations, but there are interpretations by Chogyam Trungpa and also Epstein, one of the psychologists in the Western meditation field. Okay, so I'd like to go into the details of each realm and their core emotions and the personality traits that link to the core emotions. But apparently no time, only 7 minutes left. So this is just a one-slide presentation, including all the 6 realms with their core emotions and personality traits explained. So, for example, which one do you want me to read? How about animal? So the people with animal mind, their core emotions can be characterized as ignorance, instinctual and impulsive desires, and at the same time, a lack of awareness of others. They are so egocentric, so they have no time to look around. So egocentric thinking is their personality traits. So beings in this realm with the animal mind are driven blindly toward the fulfillment of their own desires, unable to look around or assess their circumstances. I mean, it's not right to have these stereotypes, but I think lots of politicians have the animal mind, or they dominantly stay in this animal realm. Sometimes they're not shy, right? And then they're very goal-oriented, and part of their job is to look around others, right? To take care of the public, but sometimes it's very inconsistent in terms of their psychological states. So this slide presents the 6 different realms with their core emotions and the personality traits. Okay, by now you might be curious, where am I? No? Okay, you can scan this QR code. We created this 6 realms Samsara scale, SRSS. There are 44 questions and have been validated and have been used a lot for this program. So you can scan this QR code. If you don't have time, I also have a card with the QR code and you can pick it up later. Great. All right. Even though we ride this roller coaster of emotions every day and we suffer from these emotional roller coasters, it is also our mind that has to overcome these difficulties, right? So in this RHS program, we also embrace this teaching from the awakening of faith in the great Mahayana that we all know, one mind, two aspects. So we all know that what the two aspects are. The implication of these two aspects, maybe the last passage, while we experience and suffer emotional ups and downs, suffering should not be eliminated entirely. In Buddhism, suffering catalyzes growth and awakening, which is why the Buddha established it as the first noble truth. Suffering is noble truth. Rather than something to avoid, suffering becomes a pathway to wisdom and greater liberation. So I think this is the uniqueness of Buddhist psychology. Distancing from the Western psychology, Buddhist psychology presents us an alternate way we engage with these sufferings, right? Instead of run away or instead of eliminate all the sufferings, we deal with these sufferings in order to step up, right? To develop these insights for liberation and awakening. Okay, in terms of the therapeutic process of RHS programs, there are a few key features that I want to talk about. And the basic therapeutic process can be understood largely in terms of the Yogacara psychology. So, Sila, Samadhi, Vipassana are the 3 main pillars, the foundational pillars of the teachings, right? So, the Sila can be paralleled with 6th consciousness to address the issues of actions expressed through the body and speech. So, treatment at the level of the surface can be said that the treatment at the level of the 6th consciousness. So this 6th conscious level of treatment, it's like, we applying a bandage on our skin whenever we have a wound or scar, right? We just put the bandage on the surface level. So in order to correct or to address the issues of our actions or actions of body and speech, we just, temporarily apply bandage on the surface. But many cases that doesn't help, right? We need to find more fundamental remedies, solutions. So samadhi can be linked to the 7th consciousness. It integrates a cognitive or thought-based therapy that enhances the insight into insight into our own condition. So this is the treatment at the level of ego consciousness. And then very bottom, Vipassana can be correlated or parallel to 8th consciousness. This deals with the eradication of the karmic obstructions and the dissolution of fundamental ignorance. So this treatment is at the level of the storehouse consciousness. So this is the basic framework of the therapeutic process that we borrowed from the Yogacara psychology. There's another feature that I want to talk about, but I think I have to pass, which helps to understand the sufferings. The first, the 4 aspects of defiled mind: self-conceit, self-view, self-love, self-delusion. And then second, we also have to understand the habitual pattern of dualistic perception of self and others. So this dualistic cognition and perception divide all the experience that we do into self and others, leading us to see them as objects of comparison and competition. And this takes us to sufferings also. And the third, in order to understand the suffering, we have to contemplate that all objects of perception, what we see, hear, taste, and conceive, are not ultimate realities nor essential, but rather upachara, images and representations. So the basic outline of the therapeutic process of this program can be understood in the context of Yogacara psychology. Okay, so to make long process into a short slide, this is the therapeutic process showing the connection between the human mind and the rest of the five different realms mind. So if you see the first picture diagram, the human mind is very weak, or the awareness of the human mind is very weak. So interconnectedness of the human mind with other five realms also very weak. However, the connections between the rest five realms are very strong. But the more you practice, the longer you practice, as your practice progresses, the human mind, or the awareness of the human mind, becomes stronger and greater. And then once your mind of animal or the mind of asura, mind of ghost arises, you have this sati, awareness, into that arising. So at the same time, the connection among the rest five realms diminishes, weaker. So this shows the therapeutic process in terms of the connection between human mind and the rest realms mind. Okay, there are many practices implemented in this program. I cannot talk about everything. The practice implemented in this program include, of course, mindfulness, awareness. Sati sampajanya is the beginning, very important. Not only the beginning, but it's also the end. Breathing meditation, it's easy to approach, but we should not overlook this breathing meditation. And there is a compassion practice for self and others, also implemented in this program. And 4 investigations of name, meaning, true nature, and distinction that we can find in the Yogacara teaching. And then repentance, gratitude, and vow-making practice are also implemented in this program. So among these practices implemented for this program, I'd like to elaborate a little bit more about the 4 investigations of name, meaning, true nature, and distinction in the Yogacara. Okay, so investing name means to contemplate of observing both mental and material objects together with the names and designate them. Investigating meaning means to contemplate in which the practitioner reflects on the meaning or significance attributed to the objects that we perceive. And investigating the true nature, to contemplate in which the practitioner reflects on the supposed essence or inherent nature of perceived objects. Investigating distinction, contemplation of examining both the essential meaning and the phenomenal or conventional meaning. Okay, good example. Are we gonna go shopping on our way back to our country? Okay, so this bag, right? So if I take an example of this bag, we can apply these 4 investigations of name, meaning, true nature, and distinction, right? So these 4 investigations practice, it's been also applied in one of the weeks of the 8-week program. Okay, and so have all these the features for the Buddhist psychology, therapeutic process, and the 6 realms illustrations. We created this 8-week program, or it can be condensed into 8-week session, so we can do for 3 days. But it usually takes 8 weeks to finish the whole program. So following the topics of each week, there are didactic instructions and also practices specified for each week. And then 4 investigations that we just talked about, it's in the 4th week, exploring the hungry ghost mind. All right. maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. So further implications. So this RHS program has adult program and also teens program. And we've done the RHS teens at high school level with high school students, usually run for 8 weeks. We invite 24 to 30 people for the group. And then so far, we've done about 16 times of these 8-week programs already. We invite general publics. We also did the session with the monastics, especially Korean nuns. And we also use this program in counseling settings. And we also had the 3-session, 3-day condensed program in the Korean Congress with politicians. They showed great interest in this program. And there was also RHS mobile application shortly, which is not available because we are upgrading the application. And there are 2 PhD dissertations about this program, and there are many numerous research articles about this program. But still, things ahead that we have to solve. We need to have more broader recognition. In order to have broader recognitions, we need to collect more scientific data. Not only for the broader cognitions, but to make this program more refined and more helpful for the public. So we need to collect more scientific data, and we're trying to find the ways to work with our Dongguk University Hospital, the Department of Psychotherapy, right? So we can apply to these patients who come to the hospital for their mental illness. Okay, so there was some of the future implications. So closing remarks, I'm just going to read the bold paragraphs. The second, so this RHS program is rooted in the comprehensive spectrum of Buddhist teachings. Maybe you probably noticed, from the Pali Nikayas to Yogacara tradition to later Mahayana teachings also. So this RHS program is carefully designed to reflect our the core doctrinal principles of Buddhism. And the last sentence, so through this process of meditation, this RHS program guides us participants toward insight into the true nature of the mind and liberation from suffering. So anyone interested in 3-day condensed program, please let me know. Maybe I can visit again to have this program. These are the references that I used, and thank you very much for your attention.